Hi, I'm Rebecca with Monique's Vocal Studio. Let's check in.
Plan for the future and really feel that it can be great and it can be different than what you assumed it was going to be.
Hi, I'm Rebecca with Monique's Vocal Studio, and today's interview features opera singer Maryann McCormick. She's honest, she's insightful, and she offers some fabulous wisdom to encourage you today. Make sure to check in the description box below some more information about Maryann if you're watching on the YouTube platform. Enjoy. Well, I just have a few questions for you that I know that my students and people who watch my YouTube channel would appreciate learning more about being an opera singer. And the first thing I would ask is that for those who don't know you, tell them, if you wouldn't mind, a little more about you and what you do.
I'm an opera singer.
Right.
Actually, I'm a musician.
Yeah.
Trained on the piano from the age of 7.
Okay.
Discovered I had a voice when I was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
Auditioned with 3 months of any kind of training for the Eastman School of Music. I got in. And
Wow.
I've always said that singing chose me. I didn't really choose it. And it's kind of been a whirlwind journey from that place.
Yeah.
A good journey and a difficult journey. But what's been underlying in the whole time has been my absolute love for music and the importance of music in this society and in this world, the importance of culture. That's been one of the most difficult things right now, is to see culture basically decimated. And sadly, in our country, and specifically under this present administration, absolutely no concern for the future of culture. So I'm very hopeful that that will change. I know that it has lasted thousands of years, right? So there's definitely a reason to believe that it can come back strong. But right now we're in a bit of a dormant period. But anyway, that's less about me right there. Yeah, I absolutely love music and believe in the power of it. And then about, well, let's say halfway through my career, I guess, because it's still going, I started to teach voice. And I wanted to make sure I had the gift to teach. So I spent the beginning years very humbly with amateurs and kids, and just so that I wasn't going to destroy anybody's dreams. and then, gratefully I got to New England Conservatory on their faculty along that journey. And I've been there for 5 years. And just finished, I performed at the Metropolitan Opera this last season. It was my 28th season there.
Wow.
And I've sung all over the world. I've sung with many great orchestras and musicians and opera houses in Italy and France and Germany and all over the United States. I've sung in Mexico City, I've sung in Canada, I've sung in Japan and Korea and Russia and all over Western Europe. And so it's definitely been a wonderful journey in my life also. And this is a career that can kind of take you there, can take you to places you've never been. You're not necessarily there as a tourist because you have to make sure you don't get sick and you take care of yourself. But it's been a great vocation, I have to say.
Wow. I know that you're famous for being a truth teller, that you tell it like it is. And
that's what the article said.
Which is, I believe, very important, especially in this field. Do you find yourself, what are some of the truths that you find yourself telling your students on a regular basis?
Well, I think it's interesting that he chose that title for that article. I mean, that was completely editorial. I suppose I believe that there is genuine vocal truth in how you sing technically and how the body is designed, how the instrument's supposed to function, and that we need to use logic in everything in life. It's amazing today how much that's not being used. And so I think that's what he means by truth teller. It goes over into that, into actually how I would teach someone, but also how I like to live my life. I think musicians and sound need to be genuine.
Yes.
That what we search for when we listen to somebody is to hear a genuine representation of themselves and not a manipulation of sound. You know, anyone can go, ah, right? But I think that's actually sent people away from classical singing. And so in my own teaching and in my own work as a singer, it's about getting down to the basic denominator of what is your natural voice. Take all the sauce off it. Let's see where your voice really lies when there's not pressure around the mechanism causing it to struggle and have to be put into a box to function.
Yeah.
So it all comes down as a teacher as well to how is the voice functioning at its perfect state and trying to get to that. You're never going to get to perfection, but there's always this dangling carrot, so to speak. We're always moving forward towards trying to do our best and to be our most genuine as people too. It's, as you said, it's so important that we have a genuine representation of ourselves.
It's so true. You know, and I work with a lot of times I get the students that are middle school and high school, and they're just at the beginning of the journey. And they, you know, they're in the world of Instagram. They're in the world of put a filter on that and you can get it attained quite quickly, right? So they come to me and I say, you know, you're not going to find it in a day or 6 weeks or 6 months or probably not even 6 years. Let's talk about that. And they look at me like, what do you speak? And their parents will often give me that same look like, wait, what is this about? And I'll say, you know, I can help you to a certain extent, gains, you know, make some fast gains to prepare for an audition. But if you really want to learn how to sing, this is a journey, and I'm not going to be your last teacher. You're going to have, you know, really go for this. There's a long journey ahead of you. It's a lifetime.
It's a very challenging path and career in so many ways.
Yeah.
And today even more so because there's so many people in it that are, well, there's so much speculative thinking as to what makes good singing, as to who's a worthy performer to advance. And it becomes this package thing, and it's kind of like, you know, people are all driven to Twitter and Instagram in a need to feel competitive because they see some people using it. And you've seen that in politics. You know, everybody's doing Twitter. Now, that never existed 5 years ago. And Twitter did exist 5 years ago. So, I mean, it's really interesting how the whole scope of this kind of campaign for yourself has created in the social media. So on the one hand, the young kids and the young professionals kind of are bound to that for some type of presence, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But I just hope they don't live on it. I barely post, and it's usually only as a promotion. But it's not this, you know, I drank a cup of coffee today and I, you know, walked the dog thing. But that's partly in our culture now. And those kind of medias, you know, sort of incite that response. But I do hope, in the end, that the art of singing, that the art of culture and music will come back stronger than it was before, actually. I think those of us that have not been able to perform, it's going to go into two camps. And I'm at an age where I'm vacillating between each camp, where I'm just going to say, that's it, I've done my stuff, and I'm going to do something else. Or I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to come back stronger. I'm going to sing what matters to me, because who knows what happens in life. But I really hope that the art, the understanding of the voice in its glory, in its best state, can come back. And not just how can I use it as an actress on stage, and how can I get ahead, and how can I be in the machine. That's a lot of what I've been seeing happen, especially in the last 10 years. And I think it's destructive to the long-term survival of culture, actually. Not to sound too heady.
No, but it's honest. It's honest. I talk to a lot of people that are in the performing arts industry, just various like acting on film to performing on stage
Mm.
to producing and that sort of thing. And they all say that in order to become a better performer, you have to become a better person because you are facing your stuff. Have you found that to be true?
Well, I think just like writing, you write what you know.
Right.
You perform who you are. And even though in classical singing, in particular, and certainly for the most part, unless you're working with living composers, which I think is going to be something going forward that more and more artists are going to do.
Yeah.
I think in that regard, we're museum workers. We're preserving the past. And so there is an aspect that we're doing what we're asked to do. A large part of our job is investigatory. We're trying to see what the composer has asked of us, how we can put forth his interpretation of the poem or his interpretation of the libretto. I mean, we have to teach the directors this, but this is really what I think is what it means to be a classical performer. And, honestly, I think there is a tendency in these younger people, apart from just silly stuff that we all deal with, to be more socially active. In activism. I mean, I've been kind of amazed to see that this summer through the Black Lives Matter movement.
Right.
How many, like I have a young suburban white New Jersey student who went out in her little red town with signs and with her friends, and it was so touching to me. This was not an issue that necessarily touched her life, but she felt so compelled. And I'm finding that more and more in this younger generation to a large extent. So that's encouraging that they want to be more fully giving human beings, let's say that, and they're understanding the issue of where they are in society. As artists, yeah, go to the museum, though. You want to become the art in a way. So you want to, I always say to my students, if you want to know how to sing Mozart, you have to listen to all his music. Listen to his symphonies. Listen to piano music, string quartets. Then you will learn the gesture of his composition. And so in that regard, the more you fill yourself with knowledge and life, go for a hike in the beautiful area. You live in a beautiful state that has 5 ecological zones in it. It's incredible, that part of the country. And those kind of things are definitely going to add to your life as a performer. But it is like a computer. The more you put in the brain, the more you have in there to filter through.
Yes. Yeah.
In how you express. And I think maybe that's what your friend was getting to.
A lot of times what we're doing when we're in lessons is just data. We're collecting data and we're figuring out data, right? And then we're finding what works, what doesn't work. And then you're making a note going, okay, that is working for me, or that's not working for me. Okay, now we know that. And so that's always really interesting. It really is a big data collection.
Yeah, and then that also becomes in singing, in any instrument, a physical data collection as well. So it's like an athlete that you can see this muscle memory is not good and I need to change that. I'm going to change it by encouraging a new one rather than just beating myself up and saying, oh, you froze there. Rather than beating myself up and saying, I stop, relax, but by changing it.
Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, so I have one more question for you. So for the
Of course, ask me as many as you want.
Oh, thank you so much. So for the young person coming up who's looking at the world today and feeling a little jaded and wondering, what does the future look like for the performing arts? Any encouragement for them how to proceed forward?
Yeah, I think young people, I'll say a couple of things. I think a young person shouldn't be jaded, because jaded comes when you've been at it for a long time and it's just become such a pain in the neck and you can't deal with certain aspects of it. And that's where I am. No kidding. I feel very personally sad, and I feel the burden of young people. I'm teaching online now. I spent the summer trying to become a tech guru, to do all the audio platforms, to do low latency. Bought a whole home studio upstairs. If we were upstairs, I'm downstairs in my house. I have an iMac on top of my digital piano into an interface, all this kind of stuff, wired headphones. And it was because I'm trying to give them the greatest that I can the school sort of matched what I was going to do. I was trying to match what the school could do, and we have a pedagogy professor who's very versed with all this stuff. So he put all that together, and that was to really try. I feel as a teacher it's been challenging because I've certainly dealt with depression, as everybody has during this time. I don't know how you can't.
Right.
And then I have to hold myself up for my students. But I just keep saying to them, I have one student, I'll use this as an example, I'm rambling, forgive me. I have one student who's just got too much brain and talent. It's a little scary. He's a double major in voice and composition, and he's told me recently he wants to get a PhD in musicology now at Harvard. So I have to write a letter this weekend, a recommendation letter for him. And I actually think he could get in. He's really bright, and he's always looking forward. He's been the one student of mine who hasn't fallen apart in any way. And I think it's because he's not focusing on the present. He's focusing on his life down the line. And yeah, this has affected him somewhat. But I said to another student one day, I talked about him. I said, we need to take a lesson from Tyler, because if we focus on the present, it's going to look bleak. It's going to make us jaded, even if we're 18, 15. And we have to keep thinking, this is now, this happened 100 years ago, 1918, the Spanish flu. And they got through it. We knew nothing about it till this year. Right. I'm in my 50s, so I lived all these years not thinking about ever wearing a mask. I remember actually years ago being in an opera rehearsal, and a singer came in with a mask, and I thought, what the heck's that? Hazmat or something. But he had a cold, and he was being respectful,
Wow.
And that's the whole point of the masks. The masks are about respect, about courtesy to each other, and not politics. So tell your students wear masks. Anyway, yeah, I think we'll get through this. I know we'll get through this. Yes. And it's going to take a year or two for the theaters to bounce back economically. I don't know that means it's going to take a year or two for them to function. I don't think so. So I think the best thing your students can do now, and it's what I'm telling all my students, keep preparing so that you can come out of the starting gate like a prize-winning horse, right? You're ready to go. If you're just sitting around going, I don't know what to do, I'm just going to get the new Xbox or whatever just came out or whatever, that's fine, but it's not going to prepare you. You might as well find another career when it starts up. Yeah, you got to be learning now. I learned tech this summer, so maybe that's good for dementia at my age. I don't know, learn something new. And I planned a recital. I was going to do the recital at my school in April, and I was excited about it, but now it seems, unfortunately, things have dragged on in this country. So I don't want to live stream a recital and put all the work into it, so I'm going to save it for, the next school year. But yeah, I have to too. I convict myself. I have to get back into thinking, and I am thinking now. I feel that life can change in an exciting way, that there's a surprise around the corner always. Teaching was that way for me. I never sought out to be a teacher. It just came, it all came together, and then NEC was just, forgive me, if any of your students are atheistic, it came out of the hand of God. It just came from nowhere.
That's awesome.
And so I think that's the most encouraging thing, hopefully I can say. Plan for the future and really feel that it can be great and it can be different than what you assumed it was going to be. And life will take you on a journey if you get on the bus. Just don't get off the bus. Just stay on the bus.
That's so good.
Yeah. That's what I want to say to them. I have to say this, that thank God we have the internet. Thank God we have this online teaching, because 100 years ago, they just didn't do school, or they did it outside for a while, and it was also a big issue. It was a disaster. I heard a story on it on NPR about New York schools and what they did in 1919, and they floundered, also then making decisions with it. We live in a time when, right now, you're in Washington State, I'm in New York, we can communicate, we can see each other. That would have been like 2001 Space Odyssey things back then, like what?
Amazing.
So we should at least be comforted that we have this moment with each other. And I think depending on how you teach, you can hear enough on the internet. If you're listening for function and not just for sound quality, listening for sound quality is going to be really hard. But if you can see if someone's straining or their Italian's bad or something, we can still improve in this time.
Yes.
So
Definitely.
it's not as bleak as it seems. Now, if you're maybe like me and your career was going and then it stopped, that's a little trickier. I may have to pivot now and do other things. And that's all right. That's also an exciting surprise around the corner. And who knows where that'll lead.
That is such a good insight. That's the healthiest way to go through it, I believe. Right?
Yeah.
The other way
just watch the drinking. No kidding. I stopped drinking alcohol over a year ago, and I think that also helped me greatly in this time. Not that your 15-year-old's near to hear that, but yeah, the healthier you are, get some exercise. Eat a good diet. Enjoy some of your favorite foods, but for the most part, make sure your vitamin intake and vitamin D is high because you're inside more. And so that's my health tale there.
Oh yes, vitamins, healthy diet, low sugar, lots of water. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and watching anything that's a depressant. So, which is excess sugar and alcohol. Yeah, it's really tempting to just throw it all to the wall and go, okay, whatever. But that's why I'm saying we have to prepare like there is a future, because for sure there is. The history of the world shows that.
Right. That's right.
So.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Maryann. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing that wisdom.
Pleasure.
I know that I have students that are going to be encouraged by that.
Oh, well, I was encouraged when you told me that they still remembered me.
Yes.
That's so lovely.
Yes. It
so
travels.
Lovely.
Yeah, well, they know, I know that because you do look for the authenticity in the voice, they also can sense when someone's an authentic teacher. And you genuinely wanted to get results. And so they remember you. So thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for all you're doing for your students. I think that's a tremendous example of what a great teacher and a caring person is. I mean, that you're making these videos to inspire them. I haven't done that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
See, so you've taken this time to do something positive. And that's the example. I mean, for anybody, give to food banks. Do something that takes you out of your present circumstance and yourself. That's my best advice. And then just keep preparing for the future.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Maryann. I hope you have a fantastic weekend.
You too. It's my pleasure.
It was so good to see you.
Great to see you. I hope to see you again.
Yes, same.
Okay.
Take care.
Take good care. Bye.
Bye-bye.